Should I start now? Howdy, partners and buckaroos. Welcome to the Haunted Chronicles, episode 125. Tonight's guest is Tony Felosi, a paranormal investigator with interviews from beyond. Tony is waiting in the Haunted Chronicles green room, sipping on a mocha frickin' frappuccino, and will join us momentarily. The Haunted Chronicles is a Quinn Martin production and is sponsored by An Evening with Annabelle. On September 10th, visit Warrens.net for ticket information on An Evening with Annabelle, and by Lazy Boy. Recliners, chairs, sofas, ottomans, sectionals, and more. Live more comfortably. That's Lazy Boy. I am MrHaunted, joined by Jennifer Jigglypuff, Runyon, and Brock Wild Weedle Burroughs.
I'm a wild weedle.
You're a wild weedle. I love it. I love it.
Just try to keep you on your toes.
I have to say real quick, I thought you said something else at the beginning.
So
Jimmy.
did I.
Oh, no.
When you said buckaroos.
It came out.
No, I think it sounded like a bee.
Yeah, oh no, it did. But at first I was like, where is he going?
That is a really funny word, though, if everyone says it at home.
Yeah. Yeah.
That Quinn Martin production thing. Remember there's a bunch of TV shows that said, a Quinn Martin production?
Yes.
I don't remember what they were, but I remember that.
Yeah. Wasn't it like Quincy? No, not Quincy. Marcus Welby, MD.
Quincy. It was murder.
It was murder.
It was murder.
I think it was like Marcus Welby.
It was all that those stuff.
Yeah, all the good stuff.
So what's going on, guys?
Is it just me, or has this been like the really odd week? I can't even describe.
It was bad.
It was weird. Again, people are going crazy. It's really kind of unpleasant to even be on Facebook right now. I don't know. It's just really insane. I'm kind of watching my, what's the show I'm into right now with the, it's the Escaping Amish. Oh, no, Escaping Polygamy. It's my new go-to. So I have a whole bunch of tape. I've been watching them all week. I'm like, I'd rather watch people escape polygamy than the election crap.
Now, what's polygamy, for those who don't know?
But polygamy is practiced in some Mormon communities, and it is an old thing Mormons used to do. They used to believe that you should have plural wives. And
what about
of course,
people that want to run to polygamy? Is there a show about that?
I think they will they will welcome you with open arms, Jimmy. I think they would. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. No.
I'm just going to sit back and be quiet on that one.
I couldn't share.
Brock could be a little gentleman.
Yeah, Brock's.
I got to tell you one quick story, just for my archives for my children.
Yeah.
I had a bad day today to zone out with a Brady Bunch marathon. I watched 3 episodes, and it reminded me of an embarrassing story that Valerie can verify. That this happened when I was about 23 years old, 24 years old. Okay. Remember the episode when Bobby's hero was Jesse James.
Yes.
The outlaw. Okay?
Yes.
So I was working in the place. There was only like 8 employees. And our boss, I just remember I wanted to get out of my little work area for a few minutes. And I went to the bathroom, and I just wanted to splash my face with water just to get away for a second. And I looked after I splashed my face, I don't know why I did this, and I do these type of things. I've said it before. I said, Jesse James was a mean, dirty killer. A mean, dirty killer. And I tried to do a real mean face in the mirror.
Yeah, you were reenacting the scene, right? You were reenacting, yeah.
Strictly for the benefit to make myself happy for a second. I don't know why I did it.
Yes.
And then this terrible feeling came over me, and I looked under the stall. There's 2 stalls, and my boss's feet were underneath one of the stalls. So imagine my horror. Like I said, he never mentioned. I don't know what he thinks. It was terrible.
So he never said, "Do we have a problem with Jesse James, Jimmy.
But just imagine hearing that while you're in the bathroom.
I'd probably laugh. I would probably laugh and go, "You're right." Or I'd add to the conversation because I think it's pretty funny. Yeah. Very funny.
That's all I got this week. And it's hot.
What about you, Brock? Brock, what about you? How was your week crazy?
My week's always crazy, but yeah, it was a little nuts. It wasn't as bad as previous weeks, and I got called or texted Tuesday. It was either Monday night or Tuesday night. It was Monday night at 9:30 at night, telling me that they needed headsets for practice for a scrimmage the next day at 5:30. And I'm like, I need to ask off to go and help, but it worked out. But we got a scrimmage tomorrow at 8:30 in the morning. So,
oh my goodness,
yeah. Saturday.
Who are you scrimmaging? Who are you scrimmaging?
Oh, it's just inter squad. It's just each other. Yeah, They're trying to get their ducks in a row to get ready for. We got a pretty tough schedule this year, so we go play Tennessee down in Bristol Motor Speedway the 10th, I think, of September, second week.
Oh,
and then
very nice.
And then we go up to what?
How did they do that while dodging all the cars?
Well, what they did was where the trucks park, where the cars, where the pit row is and everything, that's all going to have turf on it. And they posted a picture from the press box where the coach is going to be, and it looks like little ants on the field. It's that you're that far away that it's going to be. My gosh. It's crazy, and people are paying $225 a ticket to go to this game. It's supposed to be the largest college football game at, I think, 160,000 people. So it's going to be interesting. But we go to another place this year that we haven't been ever, that I'm kind of looking forward to, but I hate that team. We're going up to Notre Dame late in November.
Oh, my son got into Notre Dame.
Yeah, I wish they would. They have to join a conference here sooner or later, but we'll be going up there. So that's going to be a tough team too. So, and everything else is going to be tough. So new coaches, all that stuff. So
well, we're going to be watching and rooting you on. You know that.
Awesome.
We're your biggest fans over here. So.
That's awesome. Yeah, so we're getting in that season. So my life is going to be hectic for
you're going to be crazy
the rest of the year.
Yeah. I remember from last year.
Yeah. Brock, what position do you serve on the football team so people could look for you when Virginia Tech's on TV?
If I usually scan the sidelines. I'm down on the sidelines. I run the headsets for the coaches to communicate. Okay. So a lot of times I'll stick around the 50-yard line, and then I'll move. So if you see the team down on one side of the 50, I'm usually on the other side watching the game. But I move around a lot. But I'll have a headset on and all that, and I'll have. Okay,
I'm gonna screenshot you.
Yeah, I'll have the official Haunted Chronicles hat on, and no.
Wouldn't that be amazing, Jim?
Yeah,
he could tug on his ear like Carol Burnett.
Yeah, Carol Burnett. So, Jimmy, how the hell are you, buddy?
Oh man, I don't have anything prepared, but just I'm happier than the Alaskan sea turtle floating upside down through the cool azure waters of the Chickaloon River like he's Michael frickin' Phelps or something. See how I tied that into the Olympics?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, that was good.
And believe me, I do a lot of research during the week. I researched Alaskan rivers, and there is a Chickaloon River somewhere in Alaska.
Chickaloon.
Sounds like a fun place to go.
Ketchikan. My brother was just in Ketchikan, Kurt.
I saw that on the list. I said I couldn't pronounce it. So scared.
Ketchikan. I think if I'm pronouncing that wrong, somebody let us know because I think it
sounds good to me.
Yeah.
I'll float down that one next week. Let's get to celebrity birthdays because last week I think Willie so I'll get them over with. Spend all our time with Tony.
Yes.
I have 3 celebrity birthdays, and they're mostly like some throwback birthdays for us. Danny Bonaducci, who was in the 2012 movie Bigfoot, The Ghost and Mrs. Muir. He appeared in that. And he was, of course, Danny Partridge in the Partridge Family. And did you know, I just found this out today, that he was the voice of the boy in Charlotte's Web, the original 1993 movie?
Yeah,
He was
I love that movie.
Avery something. I didn't know he was the voice. Danny Bonaducci.
Danny. Well, do you have an idea, Brock? What do you think?
I was going to say 55.
I remember being a little kid. Partridge Family came on. I thought he was my age. I'm going to say 57. I'm 56, though. I'm 56. I'm not.
I thought
57.
you were 36.
Danny
Thank you.
Bonaducci. 7. Correct.
Oh!
Awesome.
Okay, I got one.
Jimmy, you're...
But I don't get.
That's a.
Jimmy, your
I'm
internet
embarrassed.
sucks.
I'm embarrassed.
Well, last time you got one right.
Yeah, right. He's going to do that every time.
Oh no.
That's
Dr.
good job.
Dave.
Good job.
We have good guesses in the chat room. Yeah, play along in the chat, fellas, and at home.
Okay. Here we go.
How about Susan Olsen, who was in Alma Claus, Deck the Halls with Guts, A Halloween Puppy, co-host of Fluid with Jennifer Runyon and Willie Ames.
My sister, yeah.
Yeah, and she was, of course, Sidney Brady and the Brady Bunch.
Yes.
And a little and Fluid.
Fluid. Okay, so what do you think, Brock?
I'm going to stick. I'm feeling lucky. I'm going to roll double nickels again.
Ah. Yeah, I am too. 55.
Well, you're both correct.
I should have excused myself from that.
No,
That's
that's
why I
not
let
the
you go
sound
first.
effect we wanted to hear. There it is.
That's a new one. I guarantee this is the first time in history that a gargle sound meant correct in a game show. History was made tonight, fellas.
Oh, Brock. Brock, he's never going to let me live that down. Okay.
And I got one more for
Yes.
Miss Scope. Madonna, a singer, she appeared in the movies Vision Quest, Desperately Seeking Susan, Shadows, and Fog, Evita, and Madonna Ghost Town. Madonna.
Well, Brock, what do you think?
59. I don't know. Yeah.
I want to say 60, but I think, oh man, I don't know what to do. All right, 59. I'm going with
58.
Brock. Oh, she doesn't look 58 to me.
Oh, but she's been around forever.
Yeah.
There was 3 or 4 big singers or celebrities that were all the same age, like Madonna, Michael Jackson. There's like 3 or 4 that always were the same age.
Yeah.
I don't know the other ones, but yeah.
Yeah.
All right, you know what? Our guest is way overdue.
Yes.
Our guest tonight is founder and lead investigator of Interviews from Beyond, a paranormal investigation team. I believe it's out of Kentucky. Am I right, Tony?
Yes, Harlan County, Kentucky.
Harlan, how are you, Tony?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Doing well.
Good.
I can't remember if Tony was the one that told me he was happier than a porcupine and a... Was that you?
Yes, I'm happier than a porcupine in a balloon factory to be on the show, Jimmy.
Oh, I love it.
I wanted to make sure you got that in.
That's hilarious.
So we and Tony talked about a lot of stories this week. I wanted to start by telling us about your, in your childhood, got you interested in this sort of thing.
Well, what got me interested was whenever I was younger, I was very inquisitive, and there used to be a show on Leonard Nimoy hosted In Search Of. So, I got really interested in all the different topics that he would cover, and then from there I just went on into kind of researching, reading a lot of different books, Eric von Daniken's Chariots of the Gods, and just things like that. It's kind of what got me started.
Cool.
And you know what, Tony? I wrote down Peanuts guy, and I don't remember why.
Yeah.
I wrote down Peanuts guy.
Oh yeah, that was
okay.
We were some friends and I. We were probably 10 or 12 years old, and we wanted, In Search Of and all that was on. So we were kind of geeky kids. So we wanted to have we were going to have a seance. We were all sitting around. And we says, now who are we going to talk to? Who are we going to bring back? And I raised my hand. I said, George Washington Carver, and they all kind of looked at me and they said, "You're like the uncoolest kid ever." So that was our first delving into seances.
So out of everyone in the world, so I think it's very unique and very creative.
Yes.
Did he say anything? Did he give you any recipe?
No, he didn't say very much at all.
Nice.
That's funny.
Whenever I was living in like northeast Alabama in the early 70s, and if y'all want to hear a story, I probably only tell the story 2 times about I had some very, very vivid dreams about alien abduction.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell us. I want to hear this.
Well, it was probably early 70s, and the UFO phenomenon was there wasn't a lot really on television you would see. You think back and you go, well, was I influenced by something in the news? Was it something I read? But we got the Sunday paper was about it. We had 3 channels, and I was remote, so. It wasn't like we had a whole lot of input, and they would come to the door, just be this lose light. I would go and be like.
Can you repeat that?
You would, that would be about as much as I could remember. But I remember.
Okay, let's clean this up. Let's figure out what's going on. Hold on one sec. We're having a little technical difficulty.
I'm sorry.
I'm not. And it's on.
Hello.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're back.
All right. I didn't hear any of the UFO story. I heard about that you.
It was boring. So just anything. but it was early 70s, and I would have these real vivid dreams about alien contact, and I may have been 10 years old, 12 years old, very young. And they were the same dreams over and over, and just as quickly as they started, they stopped and never had them again. It was just like a span of for 3 months, and they were very vivid. I would, I hate to say, I guess they look what your classic description of a gray would be. Mm-hmm. But I would, and I wouldn't remember anything. I just remember, going to the door, be a bright light, and then that would be it. So, and that got me very interested in the UFO phenomenon.
Oh, wow. I don't know. We get about
that. So this is the 3rd time I've ever told that story. In 50 years, 40-something years.
Nothing since?
Nothing since. No.
And always the same scenario in the dreams.
The same scenario.
Wow.
The exact same scenario every dream.
Yeah.
And it was like very vivid for about 3 months, and then nothing. Nothing.
That happened to me with sleep paralysis. That you guys know, of course, what that is. That happened to me for like 6 months straight, and then it was gone. And then every once in a while it would come back, but it was really strong, like what you're saying. Just like I was afraid to go to sleep at night because is that going to happen to me again? That must have been really scary.
Yeah. I was being a small child, I was terrified.
Yeah, for sure.
And you tell your parents, and they go, "Oh, it's just a nightmare. It's just a nightmare." But man, it was an awfully. I wasn't prone to nightmares. Wasn't prone to, anything like that. It was just very unusual.
Yeah.
Did you have any ghost-like phenomenon when you were a kid? Growing up?
No, not really. I had a keen interest in the paranormal, and I actually
We're back.
Yeah, we're back.
We knew it was a crazy week this week.
Yeah, there's an unseen force that does not want me to tell these stories.
Jeez.
One of these stories does not want it to be told.
Hey, I'm here now. Okay.
Yeah. Well, we'll be right back with more Haunted Chronicles after break. Thank you. We're back with more Haunted Chronicles. Our guest is Tony Felosi. Thank you for everybody that stopped by and chat. Brock, Christy, Dr. Dave, Indy, Dwayne, Tiffany, Paul, Nicholas, Belinda, Mark, Susan, Heather, Maggie, Renee, Megan, Heidi G, Doug, Ann Maria, Squatchy, Lisa M, Kara E, Desi, KLF, Kelly, Frankie B, and Corey. And thank you all the groups that shared our page this week. City Paranormal, Big Bear, Ghost Seekers, On the Fringe with Art Bell and Heather Wade, Interviews from Beyond, Ghosts and All Things Paranormal, Appalachian UFO Research Society, and Bug, Independent Paranormal Research Society, Paranormal and Government Agendas Force. We're back, fellas. Does anybody have a question for our guest, Tony?
I do. Tony.
Yes.
Tell me, all of us, about the doll story, the haunted doll.
The haunted doll. Her name is Alice. She actually has a name. We came by Alice, and I'll tell you how we discovered her name. Now, I could make up a really cool story about, we got it through EVPs, or we did this or that. It was actually just kind of pinned to the bottom of the doll. Mm-hmm. So she kept her name. But Belinda from the group, her daughter had came up with a mourning doll, the porcelain, early 1900s. And it had started, they had noticed some activity in her daughter's house. It would start to move cans, and it would do little things, and then it got the activity built up to where she went out on her porch one evening, and it shut the door and locked it behind her.
Oh, for heaven's sake! Wait, the doll?
Yeah, the doll. Whatever was attached to the doll. I don't think that whatever was attached to the doll. Uh-huh. So at that point, her daughter wanted us to look into it. So she gave it to Belinda. Belinda brought it, and we did some EVP sessions. We got some pretty good EVPs, nothing really malicious. And so I said, well, I'm going to take this doll home. First mistake. And yeah, never do that.
Yeah.
So I took it home and I set it on the bookshelf. And my wife, she wasn't, really warmed up to the idea. But I didn't think there was anything that there was nothing malicious that was happening, nothing was flying off the walls, nothing bad. So she said she felt like the doll was watching her whenever she would go through the house. She says, I think that I said, no, it's just the way the eyes are painted. So I was gone one evening, and she walks by the doll and she looks at it and she says, you're nothing but a doll. Well, in the next room, there's a large picture come off the wall. It flew about 3.5 feet, and the way, and I've got a lot of photos. I think I sent Jimmy just one or a couple of photos, one of the doll, maybe one of the broken frame, but the way that it came off, it was like it just shot straight out. It didn't slide. I mean, it went 3.5 feet or better, and then it was like somebody just smashed it into the floor, and it obliterated the frame. A very sturdy frame, and broke it into 3 or 4 pieces. And my wife calls me, and she says, get home right now, get rid of this doll. So, I have to go home and I have to find the doll a new home.
What happened to poor little Alice?
Yeah.
Well, we gave her to an individual that collects those kind of things, and I think she's living a happy life somewhere in East Kentucky.
Oh, that's good.
A happy afterlife.
Wow. Wow.
And my wife is like as big a skeptic as ever up to that point. And after that, she's not hardly a skeptic anymore.
Yeah.
But I can't bring haunted objects home either, so.
Yeah, I brought one home once and I got in big trouble. Well, I also have written down Manzo, and I don't even know what the story's about, but you do.
Okay, Manzo Shepherd, there was a murder, in a very heinous murder in Harlan County in 1942. And Manzo Shepherd and a couple of his buddies murdered a taxi cab driver named Joe Christian on top of Black Mountain in Harlan County, which is the highest peak in Harlan, or in the state of Kentucky, actually. They were apprehended, long story short, and they were having this trial. They had the trial separate. Manzo stood trial first, and his 2 buddies, they were all kind of ratting on each other, so Manzo stood trial first. And there was the first trial ended in mistrial. The second trial, there was around 300. The courtroom would hold about 300 people. During the closing arguments, Mr. Christian's sister and his nephew were in the audience, and he turns around. He was a nefarious character, Mr. Shepherd was, and he turns around, and I have all the court documents and newspaper articles and all that. He turns around, he smiles at Mr. Christian's sister.
Oh, how creepy!
Yeah, how they killed her brother was they robbed him. They engaged a taxi to take him. Back in those days, not everyone had a vehicle, and so about halfway to where they were going, they faked a fight, and he resisted, and they were going to rob him, and Manzo, 2 of them held him after one of them had cut him superficially, and then Manzo Shepherd cut his throat from ear to ear with a straight razor.
Ooh.
Then they threw him over the mountain. I mean, they just chunked his body over the, just like a sack of potatoes over the mountain. He was found several days later, and but anyways, we'll fast forward back to the courtroom. Whenever that Manzo turned around and smiled at his mother, or at Mr. Christian's sister, his nephew stepped up behind him and shot him in the back of the head in front of 300 people. Well, he immediately surrenders his revolver, and the bullet didn't pass through the head all the way. It went almost all the way through, and then made a knot on the front of the head, according to the documents. And in Harlan County at that time, it was a pretty rough place. There was a lot of mine violence going on, so it was that was unusual for people get murdered in the courtroom. But people were used to seeing a lot of used to seeing violence. So the judge in the case ordered, and Manzo was dead when he hit the floor, but the judge in the case had him sent over to the hospital, which was only a few blocks away, and he ordered the jury to render a verdict. Well, the jury rendered a verdict of guilty and recommended the death sentence, and then he says, well, okay, I recommend the death by electric chair, and he signs off on it. Then he has a bailiff call over to the hospital, and he says, well, how's Shepard doing? And they said, well, Judge, he just died not 2 minutes ago. And he just goes, case closed.
Oh, my God.
I mean, all this is documented. I mean, I've got the newspaper. It's very interesting. Well, about 6 months later, they have this fellow's trial. His name's Jack Heaton. Well, they said, well, what happened? Why did you do this? And he says, well, the first trial ended in mistrial. The way they killed my uncle was horrible. When he turned around and smiled at my mother, I just lost it. And everything, I just went crazy. Mm-hmm. And they said, well, very short trial. I think it lasted maybe 2 days. 1 day, I think. And they said, well, all right then. And so they go deliberate. They deliberate about 10 minutes, and they come back, and the judge says, have you reached a verdict? Now, remember that Jack Heaton murdered a man in front of 300 people. And they said, yes, Your Honor, we have. And he says, well, what is it? He says, they say, not guilty by reason of temporary insanity. The judge clapped his gavel, case dismissed. Jack Heaton died in Los Angeles in 1982 of natural causes.
Oh, goodness.
And is that the one you sent me a couple EVPs from that investigation?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Dr. Dave, if you have those ready, you could play them, and we'll talk about them. Manzo Shepard. That's a scary name.
Like I know.
Mufasa. Right. Anyone, Tony?
Any particular order, it doesn't matter. Just whichever.
Manzo, are you here? Manzo, are you here?
Okay, was that the yes? The yes?
I heard it
that
clear,
was it?
yes. Yeah.
And yes, and he says yes, and he said get her.
Oh, I didn't get that part. Okay.
At the very end, he says get her. What happened with that one was where that Manzo was murdered at. There's several other entities in the building. The building was built in 1928, and there's probably been 15, 18 murders, deaths, suicides that we know of since 1928. So, as y'all will know, sometimes the stronger entities will try to keep the weaker entities from coming up and talking sometime, or, so they're trying to keep this little girl from coming up. I said, Manzo, are you here? And so this little girl, we're figuring that it's a child's giggle. If you listen to the last part of the EVP, you'll hear a child's giggle. And he says, get her, and then the child, like she's playing a game, giggles. Just goes,
Oh.
So, yeah, we caught that in the same place that Manzo Shepard was murdered at.
Oh, my gosh.
And we do have another EVP from that location. When you're ready.
Who did you kill, Manzo? What was his name? Who did you kill, Manzo? What was his name?
Okay, what happened there is Manzo. I've got tons of EVPs from Manzo, and sometimes and he was a bad man in life, and he's a bad fella in death, and he will he'll just tell you what he wants to. I mean, he will dictate the conversation sometimes. So whenever I asked him who did he kill, he didn't want to tell me who did he kill. He wanted to tell me where he killed him at and what he did with the body, because he likes to brag. Because I've got some where he says I cut his throat for him. I did this. I did, he's kind of proud of it.
He was a talker. Yeah.
I'm sorry?
He was a talker.
Oh, yeah. And so what that is, the Black Mountain part, if you'll hear it in the first, and it's in sing song, it'll go Black Mountain, and that's where they murdered Mr. Christian is on top of Black Mountain. And then he says, I dumped him in the woods, and what they did with him is turned his pockets inside out. I think they made $5 or $8 a piece for the murder, and then they threw him over the mountain like a just piece of trash, just like garbage.
Oh, for heaven's sake!
Now, Tony, what were you using there when you got those in those recordings? Was it just a ghost box, or what was it?
Yes, a PSB 11.
Okay.
And which I have several. I kind of go back and forth between the two. I run first part of the EVP session maybe with a box, second part of the session just straight up digi. I always try, and I've got them. Several with and without the box.
Gotcha. Cool.
I got two things written down: a haunted graveyard and Bobby Mackey's.
Okay, let's talk about Mackey's. Talk about the graveyard.
Okay.
It's been a couple years or so ago. Myself and I think Megan may be in the chat room. Megan was with us. We went to with White Owl Paranormal to Bobby Mackey's, and let me tell you something. The basement at Bobby Mackey's is the real deal. It's the real deal. Nobody was possessed hardly. They were semi-possessed. Nobody Zach Bagans on us, but it was close. We were there about maybe down in the basement. I don't know, and I think Heather's probably in the chat room too, and I think she can. They can validate. Heather and Megan and some of the others can validate these things because they saw it firsthand. We were there about maybe 15, 20 minutes, and I was setting up a spirit box session. And there was an investigator that was with us, and they were fairly seasoned. And I started, doing, getting the box all set up and turned the box on, had the recorders on and the cameras on, everything, getting all of it ready. And all of a sudden, they just look at me, and this real weird look in their eye, and they say, "Turn it off." I said, turn the spirit box off? Yeah, turn it off. I can't hear them. I said, hear who? I said, nobody said anything yet. No, the thing's on the walls. They're going to get me. I can't hear them. I'm going to bust that thing all to pieces. And they start melting down. Right there. And they were pretty seasoned, fairly seasoned investigator. Nothing like that had ever happened to them before. We'd investigated several places together. Well, on through the night, and Megan came in and says, what's wrong? And they go, I can't, and this investigator says, I'm going to do this, and the box. And as soon as she gets her out of that room, out of that area, and I think we're close to the portal, the alleged portal to hell, which is really just a drain. You know, the portal of hell is a drain. You know, when they probably get 30 feet away from the doorway, it's like you flip a switch and she's fine. We got to get back in there that we're catching EVPs, or you know, it was like nothing had ever happened. And the second investigator, it's probably about an hour later, maybe, give or take, and we're in another portion of the basement, and I'm sitting across from them, and they start rocking back and forth. And I said, are you okay? They go, yep, I'm fine. I'm not going to do it. I said, oh, really? I said, not going to do what? I'm not going to kill you. Swear. I said, what? Yep, they want me to strangle you right here. I'm not going to do it. I said, well, that's good. Let's keep it that way. I said, and so, we get and get them kind of off out of the where they're at, and they kind of come back to themselves. And then a little while after that, Megan has a little bit of an episode where that she says, what would be funny? And I go, what? She says, beat my head into the door frame, but I'm not going to do it. And I said, well, let's
for heaven's sake.
And now she's pretty, I'm telling you, she's very, very mentally, she's very strong mentally. And for that was, I thought, dang, man, this is getting rough. But obviously she didn't, and she says, I think that would just be funny. And I go, well, probably not, so we won't do that. And so and it doesn't last but just 30 seconds maybe with her, or a minute, and she could probably tell you more about it. And then we're going to go back to the portal and finish up, and we step out of this one room, and it's like, is anybody? And I know when you were a kid, you would spin around and around and around, and you'd be dizzy and disoriented. Mm-hmm. I stepped across the door threshold of the door, and I was disoriented just instantly. And I went, well, we need to go here. I knew where I was at, and I knew that the portal I thought was to my left, but I was going 180 degrees wrong, just for a minute, and then everything I just get my focus, and I go, okay, let's take a few deep breaths here, and then everything was fine. Then and White Owl, the ladies at White Owl had some, they had some activity and some experiences also at Mackey's. It was a pretty active place. And when we got back, Megan had this. I'm telling your dream, Megan, if you're in the chat room. So she has this dream she tells me about. She calls me up, tells me about this dream. And now Megan is hard to, she was telling me the backstory. She's real hard to wake up. She doesn't like to be late. She's real cross your T and dot your I type individual. And she has like 3 or 4 alarm clocks set like 5 minutes apart or something. So she's gonna for sure and certain get up, get her child to school, and get to work on time, and I forget the time that she told me that she had them set for 6 or 6:30, something like that. And so she has this dream that we're back at Mackey's. This is within a week, I think, maybe less of us coming back from Mackey's. And she says we're back at the portal. And she says, I just step up on the and there's a railing. If you guys have been to Mackey's, the little wood railing around the drain, the portal. She says, I get up on the portal, or up on the railing, and I look down, and she says, it's just dark, and the wind's blowing, or something, She says, I just turn around and smile at you, and I jump into this big abyss. And she says, I said, well, what happened? And she says, I woke up. She said, the alarms went off. And I said, wow. She says, no, that's not the funny part. Besides, she had this really vivid dream. I think it was at 1 or 1:30. She sets all her clocks for 6 or 6:30. All the alarms went off at the same time. It will say 1:30 a.m. And she's preset them herself for 6 or 6:30.
Oh, hey, Tony,
Wow.
we're actually on overtime, so we're gonna have to get to your stories on the next visit. You have a lot of great stories to share.
Yeah, for
with us.
sure. Oh my gosh.
Next week we have Bobby Merritt, the lead investigator and co-founder of Warriors of the Paranormal. Thank you from the Haunted Chronicles. Good night, Jen, Brock, Dr. Dave, Tony, Paulie, exec in charge, listeners. Good night. See you next week.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you, Tony. Bye.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, Tony.